If you're feeling a little poorer these days, if you're fed up with corrupt financial institutions and market manipulation, and if you're scratching your head wondering what the heck is going on in the economy, well, it could be because of financial repression. Now, this concept is not new. Throughout history, governments have employed various tactics to control their citizens' finances, maintain their power, and benefit at the expense of the people. Basically, they're stealing from you. Hi, and welcome back to Stop Being Sold. My name's Michelle, and I'm here with Brian. And in this video, we're discussing a really important topic called financial repression. We're going to talk about what it is, the impact, when it's been used before in the United States, and what you can do to fight back. So, Brian, let's start with just a basic definition of financial repression, and we'll go on from there.
Okay. Financial repression is basically when governments use certain tactics to take money from the private sector, like your pocket,
Yep.
to help reduce their debt and benefit themselves. It's when the government steals growth from the economy under what seems like legitimate reasons with subtle tools like zero interest rates
Yeah.
and inflationary policies to knock down its own debts. Some of these methods may actually be direct, such as outlawing the ownership of gold or limiting how much currency can be converted into foreign currency and capital controls. Other methods are more indirect, like allowing inflation to rise, eroding the value of money.
Mhm.
Like you said, this isn't a new concept. It dates back to ancient times when rulers imposed heavy taxes on their subjects. But it wasn't until the 20th century that financial repression took on a new form and governments started manipulating interest rates, keeping them artificially low to encourage borrowing and discourage savings.
Yep.
These policy actions result in the government being able to borrow at extremely low interest rates, which helps them fund their projects and expenses on the cheap.
I recently read an IMF paper called The Liquidation of Government Debt. It's a riveting read, I promise you, but it's eye-opening. So they started this paper in 2011 and they're still working on it. And in it, they talk about how to use financial repression as a tool to transfer our money, the people's money, to the government as a way out of overspending and overborrowing and basically the mess that they've created globally, right? Global
Yes,
governments. It's not just the United States government.
sure.
So, once I'm reading this paper, I'm going, well, I guess why should the government pay for their mistakes when they can steal it from you and me under the illusion of maintaining economic stability? It's really sickening.
I think the part that gets me most upset with this is the stealth tax on our savers.
Yeah, 100.
Yeah, so think about this. For the seniors and retirees living on fixed incomes, low or even negative interest rates can significantly impact their standard of living with no fault of their own.
Sure.
Their savings are generating little to no yield, making it much harder to maintain their purchasing power during periods of high inflation like right
Right
now.
now. Yeah, absolutely. For those of you so inclined to read that IMF paper, we're going to drop a link in the description below. So go check that out if you want to.
Definitely.
All right. So Brian, I want to go through some examples of what financial repression looks like, because once you see the examples, you'll start to see it everywhere.
Yeah.
The one that most people know well is FDR's executive order in 1933 during the Great Depression, which outlawed gold ownership.
Yes.
So it forced the US citizens to turn in their gold coins, their bullion, and gold certificates to the government. And basically, it effectively confiscated private gold holdings and forced individuals to hold depreciating US dollars. And while we're on the topic of gold, the US government levied taxes on the ownership and the sale of gold during much of the 20th century. This discouraged individuals from holding gold as an alternative store of value and encouraged them to use the US dollar.
Yeah.
Financial
And more.
repression.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. A more recent form of financial repression is the prolonged period of near zero interest rates we saw in response to the 2008 financial
Yeah.
crisis. This zero interest rate policy promoted lending and investing by keeping borrower costs low. However, this also had the effect of suppressing interest rates on savings account and other fixed instruments, reducing returns for savers and pushing investors towards riskier assets. This policy indirectly benefited the government by lowering its debt service cost while it punished individual savers.
Well, QE or
QE.
quantitative easing, as we saw from 2008 to 2014, also known as the money printer go burr. That's a really great example of financial repression.
You bet. The Fed's QE programs involve the purchasing of long term government bonds
Yeah.
and mortgage backed securities from the market, injecting liquidity into the financial system. The intention was to lower the interest rates, encourage borrowing, stimulate economic growth, and support financial markets. But one might argue these policies effectively repressed interest rates,
Right.
again, benefiting the government because it reduced borrowing costs, but negatively impacted savers and fixed income investors.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about crypto for a second.
Ooh,
Would you say that outlawing the ownership or the purchasing of crypto is a form of financial repression since it can limit the wealth preservation options for the average person?
yes. It limits options for portfolio diversification and wealth preservation outside of traditional government controlled assets like fiat currency, bonds, and even domestic
Not
stocks.
stocks, right?
Yeah. And at the same time, you have our financial institutions accumulating
Yeah.
these assets. That's a problem.
Well,
And let's not,
it's one of these things we always say. I mean, we're not the only ones that say it.
yeah,
Watch what they do, not what they say.
well, yeah,
They
you're
are
exactly right.
accumulating. They're accumulating in mass.
They are. And let's not forget about the impeding CBDCs that give governments even greater tracking and control over the flow
Yeah.
of money in every financial transaction that we make.
Ugh, terrifying. Talk about the ultimate in financial repression when they can turn off your money source in 2.5
Sure.
seconds.
Yeah.
Ugh, that's just oof. All right. One last question for you, Brian, before we wrap this up. How
Mhm.
do people protect and safeguard their wealth in the face of possible financial repression?
First, the thing you want to do is stay up to date with the latest government policies, economic indicators, and market trends. This is going to help you anticipate and adapt to changes in financial repression measures.
Okay.
Stick to this channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because Michelle and I, our goal is to make sure we get that information out to you as it's happening and be ahead of the curve. So,
Sure. All right. What
also,
else you got?
consider alternative investments that may offer better returns in a repressive environment. These could include real estate, commodities, or even investing in emerging markets. Buy and make sure you can buy assets outside the traditional financial system, such as gold and Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Diversification is also key. Spread your investments across different asset classes and geographic regions across the world, right? To mitigate the impact of financial repression in any one individual market.
Yeah.
Diversifying wealth to protect against potential government interventions.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned geographic regions. Even this is not our forte, so we're not going to talk much about it. But one way to all governments. Let's just start with this. All governments participate in financial repression,
Right,
right?
right.
But there are some that do it less than others. So putting your money also in foreign markets can be a way of diversifying
Sure.
as well.
Definitely.
But we're
Yep.
not experts in that, so we're not going there. I'm just going to bring it
No.
up. All right. So while we're talking about stealing your money from you, we're going to drop a link to a video we did on bank bail-ins and how
Yes.
they're pretty much looking to be the new bank bailout.
Right.
So go check that out. We're going to put it in the description and the pinned comment below. It's really an important video. It explains exactly what it is. And
Definitely.
again, that IMF paper, should you choose to check it out, is in the description below. All right, you like the content of this video, hit that like button. Help us grow this channel. Send this to your friends, please. Please, this is important that we all understand what's going on. Don't forget to subscribe. And thank you for watching. And Brian, I really appreciate this conversation today. It's been a good one.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.